Okay, I'm back. I don't know what's going on with YouTube today, but I was just live and everybody kept telling me there's no sound. So I'm back and I hope you guys can hear me. I don't understand what is going on because I have my volume on and everything. It's not making sense to me. So when you come in, please let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Welcome to my live. I am Queen Lillie. We're talking about who? Donald Trump. There's a lot going on in America that is ungodly and not Christian-like, since the capitalists love to say, and the nationalists love to say they are Christians, and I doubt it very seriously. But why are y'all talking about hanging people? That's what Donald Trump's mind is right now. I don't know if it's schizophrenia. I don't know if it's dementia, what it is. But it's dangerous coming from the man that's supposed to lead this country. He is a leader only for the white nationalists. That's who he's a leader for. He is not a leader for the people. Hit that like button and let me know you can hear me. You can hear me? Can you hear me, sweet lady Eats? Because I was just live. Oh, you can, thank God you can hear me. Thank you, Jesus, she can hear me. But we are in such a bad place in this country. They are now considering impeaching Donald Trump. So Al Green is going to bring that forward, the impeachment. We got to get him out of there. He is dangerous. He's talking about unaliving the Democrats. He's talking about having the Dems and the veterans hung. And then Christian is talking about making it not illegal to noose, to show noose and to noose. That's what America is today. That is putting black people in harm's way. Hit that like button as you're coming in. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can send me super chats and super stickers. Also, my Venmo is in the description and my PayPal link. So if you want to donate to my channel, that way you can as well. I had to start my live over because people were telling me they could not hear me. So we're starting over. Again, welcome to my live. I am Queen Lillie. One moment, please. We're going to start off where we're going to go back to where Donald Trump reposted. Hang them, George Washington Wood. That's what Donald Trump is right now. The man is sick in the brain. I honestly feel like dementia, because both of his parents had frontal dementia. Therefore, Donald Trump is more than likely. That's what's happening. But he's a criminal. We're not going to blame his crimes on dementia, because y'all don't do that with black people. Don't play in our face. But anyway, Trump needs a babysitter or a straitjacket. That's my opinion. So, and then someone said, breaking. By resharing a statement on Truth Social, Trump just called for hanging of the Democratic politicians who tweeted out a video urging the U.S. military to uphold the law. Donald Trump think he is the law when he's not. Donald Trump don't want you to believe and abide by the Constitution. He wants you to abide by him. But you're not God and you're not the Constitution and you are a horrible leader. We don't listen to you. We will not listen to you. And the veterans and the military will not listen to you. But I'm going to tell you something that did happen that the military did from the orders of Pete Hegseth. They went to Mexico and tried to take some of their land. I got to show y'all that. Yes, I do. So right now, I'm going to show you a video. Trump just called for the veterans to be unalive, and his supporters are loving it. His supporters are dangerous. We saw what the J6ers did on January 6, 2021. They are criminals like Donald Trump.
Is crazy. Donald Trump himself is now calling for veterans to be executed because they simply told the military to uphold their oath. He doubled down on what posted earlier, saying seditious behavior punishable by death. And the worst part is the fact that his supporters absolutely love this. Johnny MAGA says, OMG, he's cooking. And this person says, now we're talking treason at the highest level. F-A-F-O. No one is above the law, remember? Keep in mind, these veterans just told the military to not follow any unlawful orders. This person said, beyond time for accountability, I pray soon that they won't be able to walk down the street posting this picture right here. Not very Christ-like. It really shows how radicalized and dangerous these people are when they're posting pictures saying the government repair kit is unaliving anybody who you disagree with politically. These veterans didn't call for a rebellion or anything like that. They just called for our troops to follow the Constitution. That's exactly what the Uniform Code of Military Justice requires. That's what they're trained to do. Yet Trump's response to that was saying their words are punishable by death. And within minutes, his base was embracing this idea. They weren't shocked or disturbed, they were thrilled. They instantly agreed that veterans should be unalived for defending the rule of law. This is crazy. Donald Trump himself is now calling for veterans to be...
Donald Trump must be impeached. He has to go. We don't care what MAGA threatened to do because everybody got a little pow, honey. Y'all ain't the only ones, MAGA. No one fear you. The wrinkled ones, we don't fear you. All right. Get a brain. Get some education, okay? So this is Al Green. Trump must go. Impeach Trump 2025. I believe that he's going to be gone before 2026. I don't care if God take him or they kick him out. Hold on.
In the United States House of Representatives before the Christmas break, I pledge to you I will bring those articles of impeachment to the attention of the Congress of the United States of America before the Christmas break. The movement continues. This is not a movement time. This is a movement for all time. And those who have the courage to stand for liberty and justice for all, you are a part of this movement. You may not know it, but you are. Those who believe that government of the people, by the people, for the people is a necessity in a democracy, you are a part of this movement. So let us not forget that if we are to maintain what has been given to us, we inherited this democracy. And if we are to maintain this democracy, we have to do more than the United States House of Representatives.
We got to do more. We got to take our country back. Donald Trump has pretty much sold us out to every other country because they got so much on him, he don't care. He going to save himself because Putin has put everything out there to other countries to let them know what they can hold over Donald Trump. That he has sold out our country. He's a miserable fat piggy. He has sold out our country. And now he's threatening to unalive Americans. So this is from Westmore. Westmore says, I took an oath to defend the Constitution and to follow only lawful orders, as did all the representatives that Donald Trump was talking about. He put their names in there. The fact that this was lost on the president, someone who never wore the uniform, is not surprising. But his attacks on veterans who have continued their service to this country fuels political violence. And we must condemn it. Arrest Donald Trump. He needs to be arrested. That's what needs to happen. So I'm going to show you something. U.S. accidentally invaded Mexican beach on Monday. Scrambles with damage control, admin fallout. Hold on. And this comes from Midas Touch Network. Look at this.
This has to be the craziest story I've ever reported on before. So the United States accidentally invaded Mexico on Monday, apparently. So U.S. troops stormed a beach near the Rio Grande, pounded Department of Defense restricted area signs into the sand. And yes, by the way, they read Department of Defense, not Department of War. And then they claimed the land for the commander, and this set off a full-blown standoff with armed Mexican security forces who rushed in on trucks mounted with machine guns. And so then Mexico quickly tore the signs out of the ground, and they said that the site was clearly their territory. And then the cleanup happened from the U.S. government. The Pentagon admitted that the troops miscalculated the boundary. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico released a statement saying, and I quote, changes in water depth and topography altered the perception of the international boundary's location. By the way, they just admit to the effects of climate change. And the Pentagon added that its contractors will, quote, coordinate with appropriate agencies to avoid confusion in the future. All of this keeps unfolding as Trump continues to threaten Mexico and escalate tensions. This is yet another crazy international incident, and it's just a reminder of how reckless things have become with incompetent and insane people running our country. Spread the word and follow along for more. So this has to be the crazy...
Subscribe to Midas Touch Network on YouTube, all right? Donald Trump and his buffoon of people, because he's a clown of the circus and they are the circus. Donald Trump want to start a war so he can stay in that office. He think if he start a war, they can't kick him up out of there. You got to go funk orange, funky box, you got to go. Funky diaper, you got to go. So, Caroline Levitt says every order Trump gives to the military is lawful. That's a lie, girl, and you know it. You know it. And she didn't have a problem with him calling a news reporter Piggy. She the one looked more like Piggy, Miss Piggy.
Caroline Levitt just said one of the most authoritarian things I've ever heard her say. In a desperate attempt to defend Donald Trump calling to execute veterans for telling our military to not follow unlawful orders, she said this.
But they're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful.
So her defense is that every order Trump gives is automatically lawful. That sounds a lot like authoritarianism to me. That's just not how American government works, not how the Constitution works, and not how the military works. Presidents are not kings. That means every order Trump gives is not automatically legal just because he says so. Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, service members must refuse unlawful orders. They can be prosecuted if they follow them. That's why the veterans video exists in the first place. They weren't calling for chaos, they were reminding the military of their legal duty. The issue is not lawful orders, it's Trump's history of proposing blatantly illegal actions, and we're not talking about hypotheticals here. His own former defense secretary confirmed that he asked the military if they can just shoot protesters. That's definitely not a gray area. There's no defending it. That is an illegal command. So when Caroline Levitt claims that every order Trump gives is lawful, she's laying the groundwork for something very dangerous. A presidency where the legality of orders is determined by loyalty and not the Constitution. Caroline Levitt just said one of the most
Caroline Levitt is a blonde, a dumb blonde. She was given that job. She didn't earn it. She doesn't even qualify for it. A DEI hire. And that was from United Now. Subscribe to his channel and go to Instagram and give him a follow. So now we're going to go into where it says Senator Dick Durbin says a whistleblower claims that the FBI agents will pull from a real work to scan Epstein files for Trump's mentions. Yeah. A cover-up by Donald Trump, Pam Bundy, Kash Patel, etc., etc., etc. The MAGA Republicans are dangerous. And they're doing a cover-up for Donald Trump, the nasty man.
We're contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. We were contacted by a highly credible...
There's a cover-up happening right in the American people's face. And they don't feel ashamed of it. That's something that's inherited in the bloodstream. The sewer is Trump. What I'm talking about, take a listen. Tennessee congressman ripped into D.C. politics. Not a dadgum swamp. It's a sewer. Donald Trump is the sewer. And he smells like one from what they say.
Somebody asked me if I was going to wear my jacket up there, and I said, to quote the immortal words of Henry Winkler when he played the Fonz, I always rumble in this jacket, because that's what we're up against. This is a fist fight, folks. I mean, this is, you know, everybody talks about this place being a dadgum swamp. It's not a swamp. A swamp's something cool God created. It filters water. Animal life lives and flourishes around it. This is a sewer. This is created by man, and it needs to stop. We've, you know, for years, Congress has been using hard-working American taxpayers' money to get rich. Dadgum, it's got to stop. America knows what the heck's going on. Everybody wants to knock Pelosi. Heck, she's not even in the top 10. Get on that Unusual Whales site. This is pathetic, folks. We all know what's going on. Congress knows what the hell's going on, and it needs to stop. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayers' dime for too dadgum long, and it's got to stop. This place is crooked, and is as crooked as a dog's leg. That's an old East Tennessee saying, but it's the truth. And it needs to stop. America knows what's going on. We're in committee meetings. We hear things before y'all do. We can make those connections. When you see a member of this body making 400, 500, 600 trades a year, you know something's wrong. And I want to say something. I'm going to get these guys mad at me, but I really don't care because they can't vote in my district. This thing ain't going to pass. If we're going to pass something in the House, and then guess what? The Senate will either, one, not take it up, or they'll come back in righteous indignation and say, oh, we need to make this stronger, something totally ridiculous, and they'll send it back to us. This is a scam that's being played on the American public, and it needs to stop.
We're being scammed every day by the MAGA Republicans. The American people are being scammed every day by the MAGA Republicans. So, we're going to take a listen that has to do with the left, okay? They want you to believe that the violence is coming from the left, but the J6s proved all that wrong. And they the ones trying to say that the left is violent. The KKK, right-wing violent. J6ers, violent. What they did to Nancy Pelosi's husband, right-wing violence. Donald Trump is violent.
But Donald Trump today woke up and decided to threaten Democratic lawmakers with charges of sedition, saying that they should be hanged and that they've committed crimes punishable by death. He's blasting this out to his millions of followers who might actually act on these words. But please, please tell me more about how violence is coming from the left. So Donald Trump today woke up and decided to threaten Democratic lawmakers with charges.
I told y'all this at the beginning of my live that Donald Trump wants to have the Democrats and the veterans hung. And y'all don't find anything wrong with that? The man is sick in the head, but there's no excuses for his crimes. He should have never been in the Oval Office a second term. He shouldn't have been in there the first time. But a second term, a criminal, a 34-count felon, he has more felonies than anybody in this country. And you should feel ashamed, white people. I'm putting it on you because you mostly voted for that trash in the Oval Office. He is a representation of you, and it's a bad representation. I'm glad I had President Joe Biden. Great representation. I'm glad I had President Barack Obama, a Harvard graduate. Him and his wife both. Great representation. And that allowed black people to shine more, and that's what you're mad about. Trump claims to care about jobs, but he said Americans aren't talented enough like the foreigners he would bring to this country to replace Americans in the job market. Take a listen.
Oh, this is crazy to me.
I view everything as jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs, and we have more jobs. It was just announced. We have more jobs right now than we've ever had in the history of our country. Those are big numbers.
Prove it, bitch. Prove it. Because your goofy ass fired all the people who actually release data that is impartial. So prove it. Prove it, bitch. I don't know where you got that number from. From everything I've seen, prices are up and unemployment is up, actually. So I don't know who's telling him that. Who's telling Grandpa some erroneous information, but that is just truly not the case. Now, this is crazy to me.
I view everything as jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs.
Right now, the unemployment rate is so high than it has ever been. And it was like that his first term because Donald Trump is a loser. He doesn't know what he's doing. But he knows how to hustle that White House. He knows how to hustle being in the Oval Office. We saw him do it with our own eyes. To have a war criminal sitting in there, they're unalived, an American news reporter. He had Putin to come here, a war criminal. Netanyahu, a war criminal. And that's who you voted for? Mediocre white men? Yeah, you. You voted for that. And that video I just showed you, I give credit to Keith Edwards. So Kristi Noem has put black people at risk of racist white people attacking us. She needs to be fired. Anything that protects black people, oh well, just get rid of it or them. That's pretty much what you're saying. I'm counting the days that Trump is kicked out of the White House, and that's on God.
We have some major news right now. Bipartisan outrage has exploded on Capitol Hill after the United States Coast Guard under Kristi Noem say that in the next month, they're no longer going to classify nooses and swastikas as hate symbols, according to Washington Post reporting. It's a bombshell of really epic proportions. They're no longer going to be recognizing swastikas and nooses as hate symbols because they could be too divisive, according to the Washington Post. And Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, who's responsible for all of this, she's getting massive pushback, massive pressure right now from Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill because this is just unacceptable to everyone. Everyone is literally saying, what the hell is happening with the United States Coast Guard? Why are we going to now allow Coast Guard members to potentially wear swastikas or paint a noose somewhere when they're clearly hate symbols and they shouldn't be allowed? So that's where we're at as a nation right now. Spread the word. I'll provide you more updates as we get more.
Please subscribe to Aaron Partners on YouTube, please. Donald Trump and his entire cabinet needs to be kicked out with the Article 4 from the Constitution. They gotta go. You talking about putting my people in harm. I don't like for anybody to be in harm's way, but I'm a black woman and I will defend myself. FAFO, we started that. Fuck around and find out.
Donald Trump just threatened to hang Democratic members of Congress and senators. This is officially the most insane and authoritarian action that Donald Trump has taken since taking the presidency in January. We've been saying that he is an authoritarian. He wants to be a king. He wants to be a dictator. And he has officially taken it to an extreme that even I did not think was possible or imaginable in the United States of America. literally just took to Truth Social after several members of Congress and senators put out a video. They're all veterans, all have served our country bravely. They put out a video to remind members of the military that they have taken an oath to follow the Constitution and follow the law in this country, and they should remember that. And Donald Trump then took to Truth Social to say that they can be punished by death. This is insane. We are all under so many threats to our lives right now. There have been political assassinations this year against Democrats and Republicans. Everyone is terrified, and the President of the United States, who already incited a violent insurrection right here at the Capitol, is now inciting violence against members of Congress and the Senate. It is unbelievable. I call on every single Republican member of Congress. Speaker Mike Johnson needs to denounce this and condemn this immediately. Every Republican leader, every person with a platform. This is not a partisan issue. If you cannot speak up and condemn Donald Trump right now for this insane incitement of violence, then history will not remember you well. Donald Trump
is unhinged and deranged. Dementia on his brain, if you ask me. But that is not a reason to let him get by with doing crimes. Donald Trump likes to dog whistle to his people, to attack black, brown, the Dems, the veterans. Because he know the J6s are sick in the mind, just like him. You gonna fuck around and find out. So, news is okay. Mr. White Mediocre Man, that's what you're telling me? America hates black people, but we are the chosen one of God's children. You will not win. So, one moment, I got something to show y'all. We cannot allow this. We can't.
President of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed. This is not normal. We cannot allow this to feel normal. This, as far as I know, has never happened before in the history of the country. Every Democratic member of the Senate and the House, their life is in jeopardy right now, especially those that were specifically targeted by this social media post. Democratic senators and House members who were simply saying that no member of the military should act illegally or in violation of the Constitution. The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side. If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand and say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged. We are at a very dangerous moment right now. The President is engaged in the wholesale incitement, endorsement, and rationalization of political violence in this country. This is a very slippery slope that we are on. This is a moment for people to step up, for Republicans to step up, for business leaders to step up. Anybody who has a voice or a soapbox in this country needs to draw a line in the sand and say that it is not acceptable for the President of the United States to call on the murder of his political opposition. The President of the United States just called for Democratic members of Congress to be executed.
He sure did. And the people in my chat, that you okay with it? Honey, what goes around, come back around. Hey, my baby. That's why you didn't get your food stamps. Because you're stupid, MAGA. Trump phone call leaked. Let's take a listen. I don't know if it's real or not. But it definitely sounds like the big fat monster that like to call people piggy when he looks like a pig, literally looks like a pig.
Releasing the Epstein files. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you do. Start a fucking war. Just don't let him get out. If I go down, I will bring all of you down with me.
Now, I don't know who leaked this. I don't know the source of it. I was just tagged in it. But I'm going to say 3 things about it. Number 1, do you hear the music in the background? And do you remember the music that was blasting around the White House all weekend? Number 2, do you remember how his voice was real hoarse? And number 3, do you remember in my psychic preview session how I was showing people screaming into phones? Like the old school, the kind you hang up, holding the phones out here, screaming into phones. And this was in tandem with what I was shown. People running back and forth, papers flying everywhere, everyone hissing and yelling at each other. So yeah.
You know what? If he didn't blow his throat out yelling, he blew his throat out because he was giving some head, giving some head to the Harlem Boys Choir. So Trump calls for veterans who told the military to refuse unlawful orders to be arrested. You need to be arrested. You're the biggest criminal in America.
Trump just called for veterans to be arrested and even reposted a comment saying they should be unalived for simply telling the military to refuse unlawful orders. He posted this article from the Washington Examiner saying Democratic veterans in Congress urge service members to refuse unspecified unlawful orders. And he says this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up, President Donald J. Trump. And here's a comment that he reposted saying, unalive them, George Washington would. This other one says
You want to know who the traitor is? You had that prince in the Oval Office, the American people's office. You just work in there. You supposed to work for us. You pig. You the traitor. He unalived, beheaded, poured acid on the man, unalived the American journalist, and you had him sitting in our Oval Office. You fat, sloppy, cankle-smelling pig, Donald Trump. You're the traitor. Your entire cabinet need to be kicked out of America. Trump is a pig. This is what it says at Roger Waters. Pink Floyd started his USA tour in Kansas City, and this is what he put in his backdrop. Trump is a pig. Trump is a fat, funky pig that wears a diaper. Your wife don't even want you because you stink. And you got a little bitty ping. So, breaking. Trump says Democratic lawmakers took action punishable by death. And I'm going to keep talking about it. You don't like it, MAGA, so what? Just a moment, please.
Now, Donald Trump just posted that the Democratic lawmakers who said military service members should not follow illegal orders engage in, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death, openly calling for the execution of lawmakers in the United States of America. I cannot sugarcoat this, and this is something that we cannot wash. This is not just Trump being Trump. This is the President of the United States openly calling for the execution of lawmakers of an opposing party. They did not say anything illegal. They did not engage in seditious behavior. They merely said that military service members should not follow illegal orders. And yet some in parts of the media and on the right are saying, well, this is just Trump being Trump. He's not being serious. As a journalist, I refuse to accept that as a reality. Because the President of the United States of America calling for the execution of lawmakers that he doesn't agree with, and if that was Joe Biden doing this, they'd be calling for his impeachment and his removal from office. And I refuse to sane wash this because this is a very serious moment in our nation's history right now. Spread the word, follow along for more. We have breaking news right now.
Spread the word. Donald Trump got to go. Spread the word. Spread the word because MAGA is mentally ill. Look what they did January 6th. They are the J6ers. They are the KKK. So we're going to listen to something that is more on the on Trump's wife and Epstein. Yeah, it has been said Melania Trump was getting down with Epstein. She was giving some head, giving some head to Epstein, apparently, allegedly.
giving blowjobs to Bubba. We also have the biographer of Prince Andrew telling us that Melania Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were playing hide the weenie too.
So here we are with him in Mar-a-Lago, as you see with Epstein. Sorry, can you see okay? Epstein, a woman called Gwendolyn Beck, who Andrew took to the island, and Melania. I had various references in my book to Melania Trump. Epstein had actually been her lover before Trump, but Trump didn't like that in the book, so he ordered it to be taken out of the book after about 60,000 copies had been printed. So it seemed to be a pretty pointless gesture, but anyway, my publishers did it, but I keep spreading the word.
Okay. Here's the deal. I bought that book thinking that it talked about Epstein and Melania Trump, but I bought the book that had already been redacted. I wasn't one of the first 60,000 copies. Are you even remotely surprised that Melania is in this as much as her beloved husband?
No, I'm not even remotely surprised. Nor do I think this is like a massive story. I think what bothers me more about the whole Epstein thing that people are not focusing on are Jeffrey Epstein's collusion and information exchange with Vladimir Putin and the government of Israel. And of course, the United States government, the United States media rather, rarely covers this information exchange and potential compromise on that Jeffrey Epstein was getting with American men, American businessmen, and exchanging this information to Israel. And it's my understanding that Jeffrey Epstein took this information directly to Vladimir Putin. So if you think about the way Putin humiliated Melania right after the 2.0. They had her on Russian propaganda news and some of her modeling photos and kind of talking about her like she was a piece of meat in Russian media. So this tells me that Putin knows this. Putin knows that Trump got Jeffrey Epstein's sloppy seconds. So the larger international implications of all of this for all of the national security Republicans and all the national security pundits at Fox are what's far more insidious to me.
Well, everybody knows that Melania Trump was getting around. Hey, we saw your news, Melania. Your husband tried to lie that you was a supermodel. You never been a supermodel. That's laughable. And it's an embarrassment to Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell. An embarrassment. You weren't even a Tyra Banks girl. Really, girl. The news about Steve Bannon is bad. Take a listen. And we just listened to I've Had It podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to them. So now we're going to take a listen to this about Steve Bannon. He needs to get a health check because something is wrong when he got these things all over his face. Everybody be around Donald Trump, they just look nasty and they start wrinkling really bad.
Holy shit. I'm just going to simplify another part of the swamp, Trump swamp. It is so bad. Steve Bannon's role with Epstein in the emails. So during Trump's first 4 years, there's a hearing and Democrats are trying to connect Donald Trump to various illegal acts, including Mar-a-Lago and Ghislaine Maxwell and all kinds of stuff, right? And Jeffrey Epstein is sitting there. He's awaiting his sentencing, like, he's already a well-known sex trafficker, and he's watching these hearings live, and he's emailing a bunch of people in real time. That's how you know who's in bed with him. But one of those is Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's watching the hearings live, and they're just like sitting next to each other. That's how they're emailing, enjoying the hell out of it. And they're enjoying the fact that Democrats are not making the connection between Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, Mar-a-Lago, and Jeffrey Epstein, that Jeffrey Epstein's involved with all of it. And Jeffrey Epstein's like, yeah, I could totally take down Donald Trump. He was on my plane, the Lolita Express. He was on my island, little Lolita Island. I got everything to take him down. And Steve Bannon's like, yeah, isn't that funny? Blah. Steve Bannon is the same guy this year was getting ready to be
Uh-oh, hold on, y'all.
Is the same guy this year was getting ready to be sentenced for bilking Trump supporters out of over $10 million for a foundation he set up to build the wall. And instead, he spent the $10 million on himself. And he was convicted, and he was awaiting sentencing. And then Donald Trump won earlier this year and pardoned Steve Bannon. So Trump supporters love the swamp, and they love worshiping their own abusers. One more thing about Bannon. He's the architect, one of the architects behind the let's have Donald Trump write out a shit ton of executive orders and say shocking things coming out of the White House in order to leave people paralyzed and distracted and feeling hopeless, so that in the background we can do our real work, working with Project 2025 to usher in Christian white nationalism with, quote, straight, unquote, white men at the top of the hierarchy. That's Steve Bannon, the architect of that psychological approach.
Steve Bannon is a sick man, just like Donald Trump. They old and they ugly and they fat. Steve Bannon, like he ain't bathed in God knows how long. He looks greasy, unattractive, like a pig, just like Donald Trump. He's a criminal like Donald Trump. Donald Trump loves white mediocre men who are criminals, not well educated at all, because he's not. So, sloppy Steve Bannon's dark side, dark Epstein secrets. Hold on. Everything I show is fair use.
All right, guys, we got to talk about this big bombshell regarding sloppy Steve Bannon, because holy cow, is it wild. So take a look at this from Raw Story. Text to reveal Trump's right-hand man promised protection for Epstein. Quote, "Don't have to worry. Don't have to worry. Steve Bannon, MAGA influencer and former White House chief of staff to President Trump, promised to shield Jeffrey Epstein from prosecution just months before his death in prison." Newly unearthed text messages suggested Monday. The text messages highlighted by author and academic Karen Piper Monday were part of a document, a document dump of 20,000 pages of files from Epstein's estate that were released by the House Oversight Committee last week. Quote, "If either one of us in different investigations will need to testify publicly, it would be preferred to do it with two nostrils instead of one," wrote Epstein in a text dated December 5th, 2018 to a person who, while their name was redacted, is believed to be Bannon based on contextual clues. The Guardian and other media outlets have reported. "You don't have to worry personally because I'm sending you somewhere beyond extradition," wrote back the responder, believed to be Bannon, less than 2 minutes later. When the aforementioned text messages were exchanged, it had been just over a year since Bannon was forced out of Trump's administration, largely over his frequent clashes with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump.
The point why I showed y'all this, the reason was to make the connect with Steve Bannon to Epstein. It's in the emails. So, let's take a listen to this about the Epstein files.
I'm not the only person who, after seeing the House and the Senate spontaneously, almost unanimously agree to pass the discharge petition requiring Trump to release the files, and who, after seeing Trump do a complete 180 inside 24 hours and agree to sign it, squinted his eyes, turned his head to the side a little bit, and thought, what the fuck are they up to? And I know I'm not the only one who recognizes the remarkable, almost miraculous timing. The announcement that Trump's personal sycophant Barbie Pam Bondi would open a completely ambiguous investigation into any Democrats allegedly found in these files within 48 hours of Trump changing his mind. An investigation that shockingly lines up with a loophole in the discharge petition that allows documents to be suppressed and withheld indefinitely so long as they relate to that open investigation. And while the petition would require Pam Bondi to share the categories of documents being withheld, it would not require her to share the names of the people within those documents being withheld. These are the things we're talking about. But what we aren't talking about is the fact that this discharge petition is as toothless as Donald Trump at 3 a.m. There are zero consequences for Pam Bondi or Donald Trump if they simply choose to ignore it entirely. But of course, ignoring Congress entirely would look bad and cost them some political points, which is of course where the DOJ investigation comes in, because both the investigation and any indictments they choose to manifest from thin air.
We all know that Pam Bondi is going to continue to cover Donald Trump. They're going to pretend to have this open investigation to save his fat, wide grandma, wide back, silverback ASS. But what is going to happen? Epstein's estate will continue to release things if they don't give us those Epstein files. I don't know if this is real, but we're going to take another listen, okay?
Releasing the Epstein files. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you do. Start a fucking war. Just don't let them get out. If I go down, I will bring all of you down with me. Not releasing the Epstein files. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you do. Start a fucking war. Just don't let them get out. If I go down, I will bring all of you down with me.
And that definitely sounds like something the fat Michelin Blunt would say. It definitely does. He's a dangerous person. Donald Trump is very dangerous.
All of this ought to be good. Apparently, Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani are going to meet at the White House on Friday. Trump has called Mamdani a communist every chance he gets. He has said that he would cut off funding if Mamdani won. Now they're meeting for a little chat. Here's what we should look forward to. Mamdani is going to talk about public safety because Trump continues to call New York City a crime-ridden hellscape. So I'm sure there's going to be a little back and forth about that, so bring your popcorn. Mamdani says that affordability is part of his agenda, so I'm glad that Trump learned the word affordability today. I'm super curious what's going to happen face to face, especially after Trump threatened to cut funding if Mamdani won. I don't know, maybe Trump's just going to kiss Mamdani's ass because that's what Trump does to people who he's threatened by. So can't wait to basically see two people who can't stand each other.
I can't wait to see what happened. Mamdani is going to make Trump feel small because he has a high IQ and Donald Trump is low IQ and he can't comprehend big words. So what he needs to do is use big words on Donald Trump and that'll trip him up real bad. It'll trip him up so bad he going to poop while he's sitting there talking to him in his diaper. And the whole room gonna be funky. Because he's already funky. Caroline Levitt ain't wiping his butt often enough. Epstein victims bombshell admission.
News as Epstein victim Charlene Rochard broke her silence last night. And you gotta hear this.
Did you travel to Mar-a-Lago? Yes, I did. And how did you arrive at Mar-a-Lago? How did you end up going to Mar-a-Lago? Did he send you there? Were you told to go there? How did that happen?
There were a lot of model parties at the Mar-a-Lago. Different people would set them up, different magazines, and a limo would come and you'd jump in the limo and you'd go.
And Jeffrey Epstein or someone who worked for him would tell you to go there?
No, it was just a place where something was held, a party was held, and people would go to different events.
This is about so much more than one person, Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell or Donald Trump. But because Donald Trump is the person who, of course, owns Mar-a-Lago, I just have to ask if you think he was aware of that arrangement.
Pay attention.
I don't know if he was aware. Actually, I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
You were in your teens. And I think this is important for people to understand that people were in their teens and were young, and you were a young model.
You can see the anxiety, the fear she had over answering that question, and she knows, but just can't say right now, and that's just terrifying. This just signals so much, and just gives us insight on how involved Trump was and how much he probably really knew about everything, and it's just another little nugget of the much bigger story of what was really going on there. And
Trump knew because he claims to told Epstein he couldn't come back there. So he told it on himself when he was on Air Force One. He said he stole girls from him. That's Pimp Talk 101. Stole girls? Really? Fat boy? One moment, please. Just a moment. I'm looking for a particular video. Bear with me, everybody. Okay, I think this is it. Okay. I'm going to show y'all some of this. I'll not show the whole video. Then we're going to get to why I'm showing this. And I'm going to go back to the case. I have the actual case filings. So take a listen to this. Hold on.
I came to this interview on my free will. No,
This is Katie Johnson. Donald Trump has been alleged to take advantage of her when she was 13.
I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. There was about 3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump. I was 13. The first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was
13-year-old girl.
kind of watching off in the distance. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first, I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first party, and I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, you need to use a glove. And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, no one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove. So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party. Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties. I originally came to New York trying to be a model, and in my travels, I met a girl named Tiffany there who...
Okay, we're not going to watch the whole video. Her family, when she was young and she reported the situation, they were threatened. And they dropped the charges against Donald Trump. But anyway, I have the court filings. Hold on. A 13-year-old girl. But MAGA don't have a problem with it because they are pedos themselves. The men and the women of the MAGA Republican Party are sick people. One moment, please. This is Katie Johnson's court case filing. The case number and everything is on it. It was filed 2016, April 26. Katie Johnson, you just heard her voice. And it says Katie Johnson versus Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein. Again, Katie Johnson versus Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. But MAGA don't find no wrong with him touching 13-year-old girls. They don't even care if he touched 13-year-old boys. Just nasty. So it said plaintiff Katie Johnson for cause of action against defendants Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein alleges as follows. Judiciary is pursuant to the law of diversity, something code something, I'm not reading all that, resides in the state of California while defendants resides in the state of New York, and the action is for damages above $75,000. Venue. The venue is established as the Eastern Division of United States Court Central District of California because the plaintiff resides in San Bernardino County, state of California. I'll show y'all some more of the filings. Hold on. This is page 2 of Katie's court case against Donald Trump and old nasty Jeffrey Epstein. Page 3. If you are a member, it is in the memberships. If you get your membership, you can go read it. Page 4. Katie Johnson versus Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Page 5. There's actually 6 pages, but for some reason I forgot to add the other page in here. Katie Johnson versus Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. Okay, what is this? Donald Trump and Jeffrey. Okay, it was a Jane Doe. They had a Jane Doe. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Jane Doe proceeding under a pseudonym versus Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. All of this is in my membership. Get you a membership and you can go watch and read all of it. This continuation of it. Against Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Jane Doe proceeding under the pseudonym plaintiff against versus Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. It says, plaintiff Jane Doe proceeding under a pseudonym brings this action against Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein and alleges that plaintiff is an individual residing and a citizen of the state of California upon information of belief the defendants Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein each reside in district and are citizens of the state of New York. Go to my membership and you can read it. Donald Trump is a dirty old man. This is Jennifer Jacobs, the reporter Trump barked at and called her quiet, piggy, when he looks like a pig. At her for asking about the Epstein files. Stop normalizing a president abusing reporters, especially women, because he's terrified of a question. He's dumb. He can't answer questions. Because he's dumb, he'd rather yell at you and embarrass you. Because she's educated. She's a reporter. High IQ, apparently. Donald Trump is low IQ. Donald Trump.
Releasing the Epstein files. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you do. Start a fucking war. Just don't let them get out. If I go down, I will bring all of you down with me. Not releasing.
And you want to know how he blew his throat out? This time it wasn't from Bubba. It's because he was yelling on that phone. You want to hear it again? And he said he blew his throat out fussing at his party. No. And it went from Bubba this time. He blew his throat out from this.
Not releasing the Epstein
in my
files.
opinion.
Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you do. Start a fucking war. Just don't let them get out. If I go down, I will bring all of you down with me.
Trump is the Epstein file. Thank you, King Allen. Donald Trump. Hi there, TK. How you doing, King? Donald Trump is the Epstein files. He's such an embarrassment. He could never sit by the likes of President Joe Biden. And we're going to take a listen at the DOJ saying they're going to remove the MAGA Republicans from the Epstein files. Not just Donald Trump, but some of those MAGA Republican men in office are in the Epstein files.
Think like the stuff would actually get released or not at all?
If it does, it'll be heavily redacted and they won't be in it.
But those files do exist.
There's files.
Yeah.
For sure. There's thousands and thousands of pages of files. But again, if they're released in any way, it's going to be very redacted. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal, democratic people in those files, and have a very slanted version of it come out where it's like, look at what he's doing without releasing any of their bad behavior.
Do you think like the stuff with Epstein will actually get released or not at all?
If it does, it'll be heavily redacted and his name won't be in it.
But those files do exist.
And his name won't be in it. You heard it?
Yeah.
There's thousands and thousands of pages of files. But again, if they're released in any way, it's going to be very redacted. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files, leave all the liberal, democratic people in those files.
And as I stated to y'all, the Epstein estate will release more from their estate. So you want to play in the American people's face and tell us that Donald Trump is such a good man. He never been a good man. He cheated on every last one of his wives. Is that a good man? No. He called a lady piggy when he's the biggest, fattest pig that wear a girdle and a diaper at the same time, and makeup and shoe heels inside his shoes to make him appear taller, and hair pieces. The devil is a lie. That's a drag queen, you ask me.
Trump has signed the Epstein files bill. Now what? 30 days. That's the time Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice have to release the files. Now, there are a lot of limitations here, and that's why it's so important that the fight cannot stop until all the files are released publicly, because the media is going to move on. People are going to forget, and yet the survivors deserve us to keep remembering and keep fighting for all the files to be released. Now, importantly, no file can be kept private if it will just simply on the basis of harming someone's reputation, including any current or former politician or public figure. If Pam Bondi chooses to redact any of the files, she has to explain why, and she has to do so to Congress. If she claims that any file must be withheld due to national security, she has to explain why, and she has to tell Congress. Tonight was a big win for survivors who have waited decades for this moment, but it's far from the end. So do not forget the survivors, do not forget why we're in this fight, and do not stop advocating until we actually have the files in hand. So spread the word, follow for more. Donald Trump has signed the...
Subscribe and follow Aaron Pointers. I'm going to rest my case right now, and I'm going to get up out of here. I dropped the mic. Honey, Donald Trump, you going down. We got you in the headlock right now. You can't breathe, and I don't give a fuck. Just how they had their foot, that officer had his knee across George Floyd's neck. We got our foot across your neck, Donnie. We ain't letting up. That pussy across your neck, it's going to bleed like it's having a cycle, a menstrual cycle. Bleed, MFer. We don't give a fuck. It's time to shut Donald Trump down and the MAGA Republicans. His party is a party of destruction, a party of criminals. War criminals. Donald Trump is a 34-count felon who's been convicted of touching women and doing things to women he should not be doing. He think it's okay to take advantage of young girls. They want to move the age of consent to 14. Yes, the MAGA Republican mediocre white men do, because they like to fondle with children, boys and girls. Stay off the Grindr app before you get exposed. How about that? Mediocre white men. You got wives, but you over there sucking off somebody's head. You be giving some head. Get given some head, you nasty mediocre white men. You need to be shut down. You're not qualified in your DEI. I rest my case and I drop my mic again. F you, MAGA Republicans. Good night, everybody.